historically, it is very rare to find a mention of or reference to the capital market in all federal government budgets we have had. And I want to make that as, my starting point here. Yet, the capital market, we all agree, is an important avenue, perhaps I would call it a tool, for development by providing a platform for capital formation. And that is very important to note, capital formation. Now, there seems now also a common belief that Nigeria cannot develop except we have foreign capital inflow. Any nation that truly wants to develop will get to a point where you address yourself to the fact that you must lift yourself up by your bootstraps. That means my feet are on the ground and there is no one to lift me up except I grab my bootstraps and lift my feet off the ground. So now the question to me is this. We look always for foreign technical input. In the same manner, we look always for foreign capital. And so I want to raise 5 questions quickly in my contribution. Now, number 1, why must we always target the external sector for critical development capital? That's number 1. Second question, why can't we think of what we can do with the resources available locally in order to create the investment traction that we need? Third question, why can't we initiate a national agenda that shifts corporate and household attention away from consumption spending, which is one of the 5 things I discovered account for the recession we are just getting out of. There are 5 of them. One is conspicuous spending. Now, why can't we initiate a national agenda that will take us away from consumption spending to investment spending? Fourth question, why can't we start a national renaissance on wealth creation? And this can be simplified. Wealth simply is assets minus liabilities. But how do you grow your wealth? You grow wealth by earning more than you spend. In which case, increasing wealth is a function of the excess of income over expenditure. So it then means that the reason we have low investment, which of course is impacting the capital market and other avenues for investment, is because we spend more for consumption than for investment. And so ultimately, both at the federal level, subnational level, corporate level, and even individual households, we spend quite a lot. But a lot of this spending is on conspicuous consumption. Last question. Why can't we truly domesticate most of the spending at these different levels? There is an initiative which, of course, I have been privileged to be a part of, and that is to get our governments, especially our MDAs, and I think that is happening now at the Senate in processing the current budget. Every ministry, department, and agency of the government must present clearly that you have this much allocation in the 2017 budget. How much of this will be committed to consuming things produced locally here? And this is the way I put it. The Made in Nigeria agenda falls in 2 major planks. Now, economic activities by themselves fall in 3 planks. You are either producing, or you're consuming, or you are part of exchange or trade that links both. Now, the Made in Nigeria agenda says we can look at that from the point of view of production. And that means for the production leg, you are looking at what India is doing, promoting Make in India. In which case, it also talks to the argument made by the presenter. How do we make this environment conducive for business? so that those that want to produce will choose rather to produce here than offshore. That is what talks to make in Nigeria, the production leg of economic activities. Now, the other leg of it, consumption, says let's consume things that are made in Nigeria. In fact, that is the connection to the stocks that are listed and produced here. And if that enhances their performance, there are so many positive followers of that, not only in terms of tax for the government, but in terms of job creation and several other benefits we can get from that. So now, the way it goes is that people have also made this argument. Oh, the goods produced there in Nigeria are not top quality. And this is what I always tell them in retort. For those of us in the financial system in Nigeria, we remember the first brand of Kiaka that came to Nigeria. That brand was called Capita, K-A-P-I-T-A. That car fell apart within 6 months of purchase for most of the banks that purchased them then for marketing purposes. But today, Kia brands all over the world are not only respected, but they command a lot of commercial value in the automobile market. In fact, in 2013, Kia won an award in the automotive market in the US, which is the home of automobile. So the question is this: if, as we in Nigeria abandoned capital brand of Kia in the early 90s, if the Koreans had abandoned it, we have a Kia today. Same thing goes with India, textiles, automobiles. In fact, India at some point said, look, if we cannot make cars, let's all ride bicycles. At some point, India said, if we cannot clothe ourselves, let's all go naked. So the question now is this: the only way to help this economic grow truly is to see how we tie the spending to things produced domestically here. Now, I will talk again to slide number 11, although we'll make a remark here also about that expansionary budget may not necessarily trigger currency depreciation. And this is my take on that. Now, when you have an expansionary budget, as we have this year, a lot more money, liquidity, will come into the system. As rightly said in the presentation, it will trigger inflationary pressures, and of course, there will be a need for monetary policy to also respond in terms of taking the monetary policy rate up. But there's an observation here in terms of relationships. The relationship between the capital market and interest rates, especially the monetary policy rate, shows clearly that up on the 2007, both of them were going in different directions. But from 2007 till date, they started moving up together. Now, the explanation for that is this. Up on the 2007, what we had was no monetary policy rate, but the minimum rediscount rate, which was also administratively fixed without reference to developments in the domestic and the global market. So that when the regime of NPR was introduced by the central bank, they now began to take into account developments in the local market and also what was happening globally. You now find that that rate, NPR, began to respond to what was happening, and so it began now to also mimic what is happening in the capital market. And that talks to an important issue here, that our policymakers, and the presenter mentioned this, need to be more educated about the market, the vagaries of it, and what causes movements in market indices. Now, until they understand this, they won't come up with policies that support market development. Now, let me just take my final last takes here. Slide 16 talks about a positive correlation between government expenditure and exchange rate. Of course, I normally point this out also, that when exchange rate is quoted, there are two different ways it's quoted, either the price or the rate quotation. Now, oftentimes when we do our analysis, we take the price quotation, which talks to the value of a foreign currency here in Nigeria, whereas exchange rates, conceptually and theoretically, is the exchange value of your currency when you measure it in terms of a foreign currency. Now, when you do that and run regression analysis, I've done this for a different presentation, okay, from 1970 till date, that's to 2016. Now, you find there that it sticks out like a sore thumb that we have not managed the exchange value of the naira effectively till date. Now, what you find out, the bulk of the spending deficit in the past was actually recurrent. So, and not just recurrent, a good portion of the recurrent spending also was in the form of leakages. And those leakages mostly also were channeled to the foreign exchange markets. And so some of those relationships, especially where you found that the relationship was insignificant or was showing a different sign than what we expected, is accounted for by those aberrations. My final take here, slide 17. It is easy to explain the co-movement of government expenditure and stock market performance, but I would say it is hypothetical to argue inverse relationship of deficit spending with capital market. And I think that should be qualified by the direction of spending. Because, for example, if you look at this year's budget, a lot more is committed to infrastructure. And that is what we say the typical solution whenever any economy is in recession. The usual argument is you have to spend your way out of trouble. But what do you spend on? You spend on infrastructure, which is an enabler of business. So, and that is the way it goes. So that's, to a large extent, I expect to be a positive impact on the budget. Now, early November 2016, I made a remark that our economy was already on the path of recovery. In fact, I made a remark then that the recession we were going through had started to die. And of course, you know, a lot of, how come? How can? Of course, we saw the IMF outlook for October that came out early November, saying that we will still be in recession for the better part of this year. But January this year, World Bank, IMF came up and said, look, recovery is imminent for Nigeria in 2017. But I said my own argument then, in November, was based on a simple fact, that whenever an economy is in recession, we know that the way out is to spend, but you spend more on infrastructure. You also remind about it, Dr. Lokere, once you get on the roads and you see construction companies at work, the assurance is simply this: they won't go back there without cash in their pockets. Because most of their employees are daily paid or weekly paid. And of course, the trickle-down effect of that when they begin to spend. So the final one here is slide 21. It talks to the question I asked at the beginning, and that is domesticating spending, and that is what will help this market eventually. Thank you so very much.